lifelong Republican, a former advisor to Ronald Reagan, and one of the authors of the Contract with America, and he is voting for Barack Obama. Our third story on the countdown, one man who could make a dramatic difference in the campaign. It was Dr. Larry Hunter's unlikely and vocal support of a candidate with a domestic policy platform that was, quote, antithetical to everything he believes in, which shocked colleagues, to say nothing of the op-ed he wrote in New York's Daily News. He'll be my guest in a moment. First parts of that op-ed. Unjustified war and unconstitutional abridgment of individual rights versus ill-conceived tax and economic policies. This is the difference between venial and mortal sins. John McCain would continue the Bush administration's commitment to interventionism and constitutional overreach. Obama promises a humbler engagement with our allies while promising retaliation against any enemy who dares attack us. Based on his embrace of centrist advisors and policies, it seems likely that Obama will turn out to be in the mold of John Kennedy, who was fond of noting that a rising tide lifts all boats. A decision that does not come without reservation. Quote, even if my hopes on domestic policy are dashed and Obama reveals himself as an unreconstructed, dyed-in-the-wool, big government liberal, I'm still voting for him. As promised, Dr. Larry Hunter joins us now. Thank you for your time tonight, sir.
Thank you for having me, Keith.
It's one thing to personally reach the conclusion that you have. Lots of people have voted differently than their past voting records would indicate in all directions politically. But why go public? Why write the op-ed?
Well, first of all, having listened to you read back to me the words that I've written, it is clear that my support of Barack Obama is based upon hope and change. My hope that he will change some of his domestic positions. But the reason I went public, quite simply, is as I talk to my colleagues and friends and associates, I'm discovering that many of them think exactly the same thing I'm thinking, but for whatever reason do not go public. Either fear, probably in many cases it's just that they can't bring themselves, they can't see how to vote for a Democrat. So I thought, why not go public? Why not state what we've all been talking about behind the scenes in emails and telephone conversations? Look, we used to be the movement, the party of ideas. We've become the movement, the party of orthodoxy. And the Republican Party, unfortunately, in my opinion, has kept the flock on the reservation by a good dose of intimidation and by imposing orthodoxy. I wanted to see if we couldn't revive an old-fashioned debate over ideas.
What a lovely thought that is. I don't mean to sound patronizing, but it's a lovely thought. But you're an economist who writes that the quote, the bloody boondoggle in Iraq, avoiding war with Iran, and preventing terrorism while protecting the Constitution all trump the economy as an issue. Obviously, those are strong words, and they must be a strong sentiment inside of you. But how is that? How is it the case that what your life's work has been is trumped by these other issues?
Well, I thought the one contribution I might be able to make is speaking as an economist. And again, I'm speaking to a group of people. I'm not speaking to the Ron Paul constituency, whom, by the way, I agree with. But that's the choir. The group I'm speaking to are my associates, my colleagues, and the average Republican in the country, or the average conservative, who finds it very difficult to break away from the orthodoxy. So speaking as an economist who is saying, look, this is my life's work, this is vitally important in my opinion, and yet the issues of life and death, not only to our soldiers in Iraq, but to our country in the long run, trumps all of this. We can always repeal an ill-conceived tax increase. We can get rid of a spending program down the road. And make no mistake, in my opinion, if Senator Obama succeeds in enacting some of these, what I consider ill-conceived programs, they're going to backfire, and the wrath of the American electorate will come down on him and the Democratic Party. And that's the analogy I tried to draw between venial and mortal sins. These are forgivable and they're reversible. What we've been doing in foreign policy, and certainly what we've seen with the executive overreach and the Constitution, I have come to fear might be irreversible if they're allowed to continue any further.
So your opinions on that sound very much like many of us at this end of the spectrum who don't see the current administration as just a bad Republican administration that we don't happen to like because maybe we're not Republicans, but as something that has genuinely threatened the nature of this country. You mentioned colleagues and associates and past colleagues who are of similar opinions but may not be able to shake themselves of the R following their name. Do you have any gauge on the size of that group? Are you a phone booth's worth? Are you a large movement? Are you somewhere in between?
Well, it all depends on how you define that group. That group, if you define them in terms of ideas, I think is a large group. I think there is a very large segment of the conservative movement, the conservative community, that is very, very concerned. Now, how large a share of that group will actually go to the polls and pull the lever for Obama, I don't know. Time will tell.
Well, Dr. Larry Hunter, the former policy advisor to President Reagan, who's now the president of the Social Security Institute. It was a fascinating piece to read, and this has been a pleasure to speak with you, sir. Have a good weekend.
Thank you very much.